Welcome back to another Dub Feet Variety Hour. Today on the docket, on the review list, is About Schmidt and Limelight. Hold on. What's going on? What is this place? Oh no. Sorry for the interruption, folks. We have changed pace today. Today will be a horror dub feed. All right. So today, instead of About Schmidt and Limelight, I figured we might as well stay on brand with Halloween and all the loveliness of this month. And we only get 1 month of this, so I'd say let's do some horror flicks. Those horror flicks today are Hellraiser from 1987 and Talk to Me from 2023. Two classics. I guess I'm jumping ahead by saying that Talk to Me is a classic because it just came out. It only just got released on Blu-ray and all that stuff. I believe it's still in select theaters too, but great movie, down for the books of classicness. And then you have Hellraiser, which spawned a gazillion and a half sequels, parodies like on Rick and Morty, and what have you. There are somewhat of a similar overlap between the two movies, but at the same time, they're very different and unique movies. One I obviously liked a lot more than the other. One gets more credit for being a founder of a lot of what's to come. I think you can already guess and assume that was Hellraiser, but I digress. I'll deep dive between the two of them in a moment. So before we dive in, as I always like to do, I like to talk about some movies or maybe just a specific movie. I never did talk about Come and See. Or no, that's a lie. I did talk about it a little bit, but there's a page, I think it's Goosebumps Cinema or some bullcrappy name on Instagram. No knock on what their page name is. It's just, there's so fucking many. Anyways, they posted Come and See, and they were suggesting that it's a great watch. It is, 100%. It's a worthy watch. Sometimes it's a little super dark, but I couldn't help myself but scroll through the comments, which is something nobody should ever do on social media. You should avoid all comments at all costs. I started scrolling, and I noticed that somebody's like, oh, well, the kid that played the main character, he grew up and now he supports the war in Russia, so I'm never going to watch this piece of shit movie. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You're going to negate a classic, phenomenal movie over the views of somebody's politics today? I mean, this brings up the debate that everybody struggles with, and I've done it myself. Do you separate the art from the artist, or do you acknowledge things like that? I think it's stupid in this situation to deny such a classic of a movie just for the sake of a guy's politics that is now 30 plus years later down the line, which I haven't even confirmed. I have a feeling it's probably some slightly veiled bullshit that they assume he's in support of Russia and the Ukraine war. But anyways, who fucking cares? Watch Come and See. It's on Criterion. It's on YouTube with subtitles, from what I read. It's rentable on everything, and you can just buy it on a Blu-ray like I fucking did. But I digress. I guess that's up to the opinion of the masses. Do you separate the art from the artist, or do you dissect and decide what you should and shouldn't watch after the fact? Quick side note, I guess, further to expand upon that, but I definitely did that with Mel Gibson when he decided to go on all these racial tirades and be a fucking dumbass. I stopped watching all his shit. He was dropping like Apocalyptico of producing and making this and directing that and trying to make all these comebacks. He did Passion of the Christ, and I'm like, fuck that guy. Anyways, I digress. We have two films to talk about here today. Those films are, once again, Hellraiser and Talk to Me. I guess I'll talk about Hellraiser first. It is one of those classics. It's been out since 1987. It is based on the book by Clive Barker, who ended up directing it as well. So he wrote it as a book, then developed it, wrote it for a screenplay, directed it as well. It is a weird fucking movie. I have trouble trying to understand why it's considered one of the most pinnacle classics of horror movies. However, there is a lot of gruesome behavior and gruesome cinematography. Well, beautiful lighting in the movie, that's for sure. Gruesome special effects, a lot of practical special effects, which, you see a lot of that in The Thing and other classic horror movies of the same time frame. But the plot is something to be desired for. It kind of wishy-washies back and forth. I think I would say the first act is great. The first act is terrible. The second act sort of picks up, and the third act just steers right into almost a borderline slasher sort of film. Pinhead and the crew, all the bad guys within the film, they are fucking great. I mean, their characters are just demonic and evil looking, and they're very monotone. They don't move much. They're just creepy looking, and I think that adds a good element to why I guess it became a horror staple. I guess talking about it has helped me understand why it's a horror staple. However, I had many gripes with the story. Anyways, I'll give you the quick story. I won't spoil it all the way, even though it's been out since 1987. Essentially, a dude named Frank, who is portrayed by Sean Chapman, he's a gentleman that is fucking around with this weird box. I guess he's sort of into some kind of weird sexual deviant stuff, but he likes pleasure and pain is pleasure to these Hellraiser beings in an alternative universe. It's all based around this cube that's like a little puzzle box, and somehow Sean gets sucked into it, and they pretty much rip him apart, and he's like non-existent in terms of human anymore, aka he's dead. So that's the start of the movie. Later you see Larry and Julia, and they're buying this house. The house is the same house that this guy just got sucked into, this weird cube portal, whatever the fuck. Julia is the wife. Julia is the girlfriend. Larry's the dude, and he's all excited to buy it. She sort of seems kind of straggly about it, but then she succumbs to like, I think we'll make it work. But she already seems kind of, something about her guard is already up. So I'm already like, something about her ain't right. So of course she finds a picture of Frank. Frank is with another woman in the picture, and she rips the photo in half. So I'm already like, interesting. Something about her is even more off than expected. Anyway, the film progresses. They're moving into the house. They've already cleaned up the mess. There's all kinds of remnants of Frank squatting in the house. And Larry cuts his hand. So he goes to his wife. I guess he's a little squeamish about blood. He goes to his girlfriend. I'm sorry, not his wife. He goes to his girlfriend, or maybe wife. Who fucking knows? They don't make that clear at all in the movie. He goes to the woman that he's with. There we go. His hand is profusely bleeding. All the blood drops on the floor. It gets sucked into the ground. Very cool feature because it's like one of those sort of reverse stop animation, or they spilt the blood and then they slowly turn it around. So they cut right before the blood, like before you could see the blood go back up. So it's a cool feature, but it's an old school 80s feature where you could still sort of apply practical effects within it. So from there, there's like a weird creature that comes up from the ground. You slowly see him form. Same in the same reverse sort of, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the guy's head melts. It's the wax figure that gets the whole melty head, and then it's left with the skeleton. They sort of reverse that, and they use that as the way this guy is reanimated. So from the blood dripping on the ground from Larry, all this blood helps reform Frank, who disappeared within this puzzle box. And from there, then you start to realize, wait a minute, something's up with Frank and Julia. Apparently, Julia and Frank had been having an affair, and then he got caught up in this weird deviant world and got sucked and disappeared. He keeps pleading because I'm Frank, you remember me? He keeps pleading that they're going to run away together, but she needs to keep helping him with more feeding, more blood, so he could reanimate to his full form again. So the whole process, which is very cool. This is where this is the part of the plot that started to suck me in. He uses his ex-squeeze, or his ex-side piece, to recruit people for him to feed on. She starts cruising for dudes at bars, which makes it look like she's cheating on Larry all over again. And every person that she brings in the house, she hits him with the hammer, and then Frank feeds on them to sort of further reanimate himself. This continues to happen throughout the movie until, a lot of red flags start to fall up, like with Kirsty, which is Larry's actual daughter. I could give you the whole plot, but of course, I'll give you the simple brass tacks of essentially why the classic Pinhead comes up. But Pinhead and his group of folk, they're the ones that run this weird puzzle world that they're all dimensionally traveling in. Frank somehow escaped because of that blood, and now they want to bring him back. I don't know. There's something funny and just crazy. The way they speak, it's almost in a sarcastic tone. These like monsters. So like, there's a line where Kirsty, who's Larry's daughter, she accidentally gets pulled into the world with a stupid puzzle piece. And as she's there, she's saying, like, don't take me, take Frank. He's the one that escaped you guys. And they kind of pause and they go, we want to hear it from his mouth first. It's like, we need the source before we believe anything from you. So it's just, the lines are kind of silly, but I think that part was kind of done purposely. It's almost like in the vein of Nightmare on Elm Street, which in defense of the movie, they managed to keep these characters still scary, even though they're almost like sarcastic and jokey in tone. Essentially, of course, the movie keeps spiraling out of control. The daughter obviously found out and noticed all the creatures and stuff, starts to realize Julia is part of this whole problem as well. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to give you guys the end of the movie because this movie's been out for 35 years. Kirsty, she pleads to go save her dad. She gets there too late because Frank has already taken over Larry and is wearing his skin, which adds so much confusion because he keeps feeding on people throughout the movie to reanimate himself. He sounds like himself the entire time. And then all of a sudden, he fully reanimates himself by taking Larry's skin or consuming Larry's body. And now he looks and sounds like Larry. That makes no fucking sense. This is where I was disconnected after embracing the second act of the movie. The end of the movie, of course, the daughter figures out that that's not her father. The corpse laying in the room where Frank was residing when he was hiding as he was reanimating, that's Larry's body. And of course, then it becomes a full-on evil dies tonight defeat. Kirsty has to defeat all these monsters and escape by the skin of her teeth. Of course, that happens. It's just, I don't know, it's very 1, 2, 3. Like I said, first act, last act, not that good. Second act was where it was sort of getting its legs and starting to seem like it's promising. And just the general plot of the whole, having your ex who still might have feelings for you help you out to reanimate yourself with people. I don't know. I did not love it. I would probably say this one is, I'd probably say 4.5 out of 10. This one was rough to get through. I remember I was on my phone a lot more as I was watching it. I was, of course, paying attention to it, and I would kind of pause when I would scroll or whatever. But every time things would start to unfold, it would just leave me going, do I want to keep watching this? Because where the fuck is this going? And then it would suck me in a little bit, and then it would spit me back out. Then it would suck me in, and so on and so forth. And the ending is just over-the-top cheese, 80s horror movie. I feel like Clive Barker was trying to go for an original feel, and that's not what's here. And I'm not saying that with the sake of this being an 80s movie, so it's an older one that might have the OG feel. I've seen this OG sort of notion in movies that came out before this. So I would say Hellraiser, not very unique, other than the practical effects, the Pinhead and his cohort, if you will. Those were the original pieces of it, which explains kind of why there's many sequels. But aside from that, the box may be a little unique because it's like this cube box that sort of transfers you into their world, which full circle, it'll make sense as to why this is the comparative movie to Talk to Me. Yeah, I'd say this one gets a hard 4.5 out of 10. I would not go any higher than 5. I will give it credit for being breakthrough in some elements, like I said, the same practical and horror ensemble group. But aside from that, this movie doesn't do much for me. As for Talk to Me, holy shit. Talk to Me was a hell of a fucking movie. Talk to Me is an Australian-based supernatural horror film, and it's done by these two dudes named Danny and Michael Philippou, who were YouTubers that went on to put this whole fucking movie together. And I will give them fucking credit for that because that's the come-up game strong, if you will. So come up game strong for everybody. The movie starts off and you don't see a single familiar face, especially, I guess, because it's an Australian horror, so you don't really expect to see many familiar faces, with the exception of the woman who plays the mother. I believe that is Miranda Otto. Miranda Otto was in Lord of the Rings playing Eowyn. I have not seen Lord of the Rings in a gazillion and a half fucking years, so I cannot remember who she played. I cannot remember her character that she played. But anyway, she's the only familiar face. Everybody else in the movie are pretty much just Australian youngster hipster kids, including Sophia Wilde. She's the breakthrough star in this movie. She plays Mia. So long story short, they establish that Mia's mom dies, and she's still grieving with it, but she's got her sort of support friend. But I guess because she's the depressed friend, the cliques and the groups of other people are like, oh, you're gonna bring her around, and it becomes just like, oh, she's damaged, so she's the buzzkill at parties. But they have this plaster hand thing that you hold. You say, talk to me, and you could see ghosts. Once you say, I let you in, then they possess you, and then it's pretty much like a show for everybody that's around you. But I think you like trade places with the demon that's holding your body for a moment. So you're within this euphoric world for a second while this demon is sort of possessing you briefly. And then after the people that organized all this. It's like the two fucking dumbasses from school. They say 90 seconds, we got to cut you out and pull you back in. So that's when they pull your hand off of the thing. They blow out the candle. That closes the loop of the spirit. It's essentially like a sort of Ouija board expanded, but a little more dark and demony and creepy. Of course, things, as always, spiral out of control. I won't give too much away because this one's worthy of watching and it's pretty new, so I will give the brass tacks. But Mia has a close friend and her little brother. She stays with Jade and Riley. Essentially, Riley wants to try it. When he tries it, it sort of goes wrong, and then he stays on too long, and he like pretty much bashes himself into a coma. This was that scene in Hereditary, only fucking done right, because Hereditary is dog shit, and it's not a good movie. I don't care what anybody says. I do not like that movie. I do like Midsummer, but Hereditary was not good. Sorry. Not a good plot, not a good story. Very good special effects, very good creepiness, but the plot is boring as fuck. Anyways, I digress. Sorry for the quick hatred on Hereditary. So he bashes his head in, and then they try to pull him off. They get him off just in time, but in the hustle of like pulling him off, there's still some sort of demonic layer there, and they essentially don't blow out the candle, leaving the spirit sort of open. So the younger brother, who's ends up in the hospital, he's still fucked up. He's still kind of weird. Oh, quick thing that I overlooked completely: when Riley gets possessed. Briefly, when he lets them in, he starts talking to Mia like it's her mother, and that's obviously the grounding point for Mia, where she's like, "Oh, I gotta talk to him again. I gotta reinvigorate this conversation. I gotta see if my mom has any unfinished things to say, because she either accidentally overdosed on medication or she killed herself, and I don't know." So, and obviously Mia's still hurting from the loss of her mom. From there, Mia realizes the problem between either helping Riley or trying to further pursue speaking to her mother. Of course, after doing the possession thing with this stupid hand, after doing the quote-unquote talk to me, she starts seeing her mom. The problem is, as with all spirits, at least within the universe of movies, the spirits are not good. The person, the demon pretending to be her mom is evil as fuck. It adds for such a creepiness, but it adds for sort of a weird comfort for Mia, even though this spirit is sort of loosely brainwashing her to do crazy shit and not properly stay in tune with reality. Like I said, I don't want to give too much away of this movie because it flows very well, but simple practical effects. I'm looking at the budget right now on Wikipedia. The budget for the film was $4.5 million. For what it was achieved in the process of this movie, super great feat. Simple practical effects. There's some loose, I would say maybe some CGI, maybe on the eyes or whatever. If not, those were contacts, and they just sort of paint, they would do makeup on the people's, on the actors' faces to sort of give them that possession vibe. Every actor fucking kills it. There's not a lag of bad acting throughout the whole movie. I would say this movie really didn't have any flaws other than the main actress's ugly-ass hipster haircut. Aside from that, this movie, I think I would probably give this movie 10 out of 10 because there was not a single lag moment for me that I didn't appreciate. There was not a single moment that made me feel bored. There are moments where I was literally wrapped around like my pillow going, oh, fuck, what's going to happen? No, don't do that. So it's a very, it sucks you in and it keeps you like suspended within the disbelief and suspended within the fucking plot of the movie. So I think this one was surprisingly well. And I watched the trailer for this a gazillion and a half years ago. It was the trailer either before Oppenheimer or whatever movie I saw in the theater before it. And I was just so like, what the fuck is this? It's another demon movie, The Conjuring or whatever. It's going to be some weird jump scares and bullshit and ghost nuns and all kinds of nonsense. It wasn't that at all. It was 100% from the moment zero to moment last in the entire movie. It was pretty flawless. I would say I'm going to stick with my 10 out of 10. One thing I forgot to mention is the intro. It's very poignant, very similar to the intro of Hellraiser. Even though I didn't like Hellraiser that much, Hellraiser's intro was kind of poignant, even though the acting was cheesy. In the intro of Talk to Me, it's there's a party going on, everybody's kind of doing their thing, and a long-haired dude, he's looking for his brother. He's kind of causing a little ruckus in the party, but he kicks open a door. He sees his brother. His brother's got these big gashes on his back. His brother gets up. He's like, come on, we got to get home. The guy's like, you're not him. You're not him. So there's already sort of some weird kind of confusion, but it ups the ante. We're like, what the fuck is going on? So within that happening, the guy looking for his brother that's clearly something's off with him. He gets up and he stabs his brother, and then he stabs himself in the face with like a big-ass Michael Myers-esque knife. And that's how the movie begins, without even the context to the whole hand and the talk to me and all that. Like in Hellraiser, the intro starts off similarly. You see this dude, he's sort of trying to detach, and he said he gets all these great feelings of pleasure and pain by utilizing this puzzle. He's got some like demonic shit on his walls and stuff. So it makes sense that he pursued this fucking cube thing to destroy his life, but I guess he didn't think that he'd get captured and destroyed in it. But aside from that, these are sort of, both movies dabble in the notion of escapism, as in both the protagonist from Talk to Me and the semi-protagonist, I guess, for Hellraiser. They both chase this escape to an alternative universe for the sake of uplifting themselves. But overall, obviously, Talk to Me was a lot better. A lot better. It was just from the beginning to the end, it was a flawless movie, and it kept you hooked. It kept you hooked from the beginning to the end. I was looking further into what I guess just from the following that Talk to Me got. It looks like they're working on a prequel and they're developing a sequel. So I am curious to how those will be. Sometimes after you capture this magic in the bottle, that's it, and maybe it won't continue on to be even better. I mean, but perfect example of whether or not you pursue or not. Hellraiser has 1,500 sequels, and that movie sucked. So, and that dude has directed everything. He went on. He has directed what's that other series? He did Candyman. He did all those fucking Candyman movies. So I will give him credit for being gory and visual. However, plots are not his thing. The Talk to Me dudes, I think plot might be something they might be able to continue on with. So perhaps a sequel would benefit us. So I guess time will tell. Anyways, Talk to Me, 10 out of 10. Hellraiser, 4.5. If you guys have any opinions, agreements, disagreements, as always, drop into the comments, drop into the DMs. Any questions, comments, concerns, agreements, disagreements, find me on Dub Feet Movie Reviews. And agree, disagree, tell me you love the Hellhound Heart novella by Clive Barker and I just didn't understand Hellraiser, or tell me that Talk to Me was hipster fodder for bullshit in a genre that's failing. That's just, I'm just thinking of all the arguments that come up online against or for things. Everybody has their view of opinion, but these are mine. And if you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know as well. I think that covers it all. Look forward to a couple more horror dub feats coming in the future. I recommend seeing Talk to Me ASAP. Hellraiser, if you've already seen it, maybe revisit it if you like. I don't think I'll be watching that one again. I am semi-curious to watch the sequels to just see how they were able to continue on. It's like watching the Friday the 13th movies. It's like, they're not going to be good, but at least there's a level of entertainment that's going to follow. Anyways, thanks for listening. Happy Halloween month. Talk at you motherfuckers soon.